When I was 13, a boy named James moved in the house across the street. He was a pretty normal kid, just a few years younger than me. He went missing later that summer. The boy's parents called the police after they couldn't find him, and the cops came with their sirens blazing and everything. I told them I saw it all. He was abducted. I was playing ball when a man ran out of the woods and grabbed him. He got dragged away by the leg. The media issued an alert for James and declared a child predator might be on the loose. People in my village searched up and down for the boy, but to no avail. He'd vanished like a puff of smoke. My father played above the hype, but I could tell he was shaken. He made me lock all the doors to our compound even during the daytime. He'd call home during his lunch break to check in on me and make sure I was okay. Police were determined to find James and his abductor. They issued witness reports, employed sketch artists, and pressed the public for information. I tried to help the best I could. I told them I think he was a tall man with glasses. The sketch artist nodded. The boy's parents were devastated. They were nice Christian folks, but I stopped seeing them at church after they lost James. My father said they needed their privacy. Everyone at church seemed really sad though, like they missed them. A few weeks later, another boy in the village had gone missing, right when things seemed to be returning to normal. It was Chad. He lived just a few houses over from us. His parents said he took out the rubbish bin and disappeared into the night. Theories of the predator spread rampantly throughout the local media. The community was frazzled. People felt like they could not trust their neighbors anymore. My father started bringing me to his office during the day. He said it could do you some good to get out of the house. I knew he was just scared, but I didn't mind going to his office. It was interesting to see what he did at work. Normally, we only talked at the dinner table. Now we were spending the entire day together. We started doing other things together too, like normal family things, just throwing a ball and stuff, but it was nice. It finally felt like I had a father. He wasn't focused on work all the time or out with his friends at the pub. He was focused on me and my safety. It was perfect. Police arrested a man in connection with the boy's disappearances a few days later. His face was plastered all over the news. He was a cashier at the hardware store. His name was Clarence. He confessed to police after a traffic stop. I'd seen the man before and I knew he wasn't a killer. He was simple. Clarence couldn't lead police to the bodies, and some clung to the idea that the boys might still be alive. I knew that they were dead though. They'd been missing so long I was surprised anyone in the village could pretend otherwise. Law enforcement had been praised for their diligent action with Clarence's arrest, but their focus was shifted after another abduction 3 days later. It was Charlie, a boy who lived at the end of the lane. I actually liked him too. Clarence was still in custody, so police considered it the work of a copycat. My father decided to take the rest of the month off work. He said, I want to stay home and watch you. There aren't many kids left. He chuckled nervously and patted me on the back. That's fine with me, I said with a smile. The next few weeks my father would become increasingly fixated on the boys. He spent most of the day on the couch watching the news for updates. It was like there was no longer any time for throwing the ball or any fun. He wouldn't even let me go outside. The house had become a jail cell. We spent the remainder of that summer together in our living room, leaving only a few times to go to the store. My father had become extremely emotional, obsessive. It was the first time I'd ever seen him cry. He was sad all the time. Simple nuances with my father had begun to drive me insane, like the way he smacked his lips, how he constantly hogged the television to watch the news, how he obsessed over the boys. The constant questions he would ask me were ridiculous. What was Chad like? Or did you ever play with Charlie at school? I used to watch him ride his bike, he'd say with a smile. My father had become a different person. He volunteered with the investigation. He reached out to other families in the area. He bought Chad's mother groceries after she lost her job. He tried organizing village watch groups and bond the community back together. It was too late though. The trust had been lost. The case consumed my father's new life. Soon he was hanging pictures of the boys around the house. He phoned lawyers and statesmen for aid in the investigation. He tried visiting Clarence in jail. He tried everything in his power to help the community heal. It made me sick. I couldn't stand it. It was like I had lost a father all over again. Why did he care about those boys so much? Why did he care about their families? They were my friends. I was his son. Why didn't he care about me? Why didn't he want to play ball anymore or have fun? The abductions had stopped and things gradually went back to normal, but my father never recovered. He spent the remainder of his life working the case, looking for clues and trying to find the boys and their abductor. Our relationship deteriorated and never recovered too. He died a few years later from heart complications. Clarence was acquitted due to a lack of evidence, and my father died without ever finding those boys. I felt bad because I knew where they'd been the whole time. They'd been dead for a long while. They were mummified underneath the house in the crawl space. I'll never know why I killed the little boy, James. I coerced him into a yard and took him behind the house where nobody could see us. Then I choked him with a wire. His little eyes nearly popped out of his skull. I killed Chad and Charlie too, but I think it was for the attention of my father. Chad and I were playing and I told him I'd found James. Chad followed me down into the crawl space where I smashed him in the head with a hammer. The crawl space turned out to be a pretty good hiding spot. All I wanted was for my father to pay attention to me and to love me. After people thought James had gotten abducted, my father appreciated me a little more. He seemed to have time for me. He would take me places and we did things together. I just wanted him to care about me a little more, but he only cared about those boys in the end. A part of me wishes he knew the whole story. I inherited the house after my father's death. The boys' bodies are still down there in the crawl space. Sometimes I wonder if I should give them a proper burial, with gravestones and all that jazz. Every now and again I'll go down there and watch them sleep. The weirdest part is that I keep getting older, but they stay the same age. Their painful expressions are frozen in time. In a strange way, I've become just as obsessed with those boys as my father.